And going back to Chaitanya, I think you have something to add because of you also have certain background in education and training and learning at Steamwood. So Chaitanya, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. So, when I look at content related to VR, right? So, and that's pretty much the main thrust of what we've been working on for a while now. So I just want to show one photo. Yeah. So if you look at, we have 4 content consumption platforms today, right? And when you approach content for each of them, you have to look at the parameters. So film is captive community viewing, television is non-captive family viewing, digital is non-captive individual viewing, VR is captive individual viewing. What is the duration and structure, the viewing details, the fiction content structure, whether it is standalone, is it serialized, whichever. And then you come to the key bit, which is USP. What's the key thing of the content that's created for these platforms? So film and theatrical is a larger than life audiovisual narrative spectacle. TV lends itself to appointment viewing. So there's lots of time for story and character development. Digital, because it's a small screen, it's non-captive, so it's distractive. So it needs to be, you really need to grab the audience. The first 30 seconds of any episode are extremely important. So its writing has to be really good. Pace is critical. You can't have a relaxed edit in digital content, right? What do we know about VR and AR content as of now? We know 2 things. We know immersive and we know interactive. Right? So there is a significantly high level of immersion, which comes with its benefits. And then there is a significant high level of interactivity, which you can decide how much you want the user to control. The only way you're going to know what additional content characteristics, USPs, VR content has is to make different kinds of VR content and, fail repeatedly and fail fast. So you have to make it and make it, and you will then start to see global best practices emerge. And the underlying hypothesis is that human beings are natural storytellers. If we are able to wrap our head around the technology of the time, we can tell a story. Now, whether it's taking a piece of charcoal and drawing in the cave, or whether it's a complex 360 workflow pipeline. So, and that's our goal. What we want to do is take these 17, 18, 19-year-old students and give them a thorough exposure to the workflow and the technology, and then tell them, go create content as you feel fit. And we will start to see USPs of cinematic VR fiction content emerging, and that's how we are approaching it, right? So yes, we know some things, but I would say we know less than 15% of what the final body of fiction VR content is going to look like.
Sure. Thanks, Chaitanya, for that. So I think moving on to the last question for this panel, it was more about monetization, right? I'm sure you know that the mobile, especially Neeraj must be knowing that for mobile, right, the system, the app stores are pretty mature enough, right? For B2C distribution, you have a big platform, you have millions and millions of users who are using iOS, who are using Play Store, and there are multiple ways developers slash content creators slash brands can actually monetize the experiences and content that they're creating. But when it comes to XR, what do you think is the best way for developers and content creators to monetize? And obviously the existing monetization techniques like the videos that we have, the pre-roll, the front roll, and the back roll, how do you think that will shift when it comes to marketing, advertisements, and promotions in the XR space?
So I want to just quickly add to that. So I spoke about monetization a little bit earlier when I was talking about subscription, actually having people subscribing to digital, to cinematic VR content. That's one way. So you're going to have the consumer pay in one way or the other. Either they're going to pay money or they're going to pay through that eyeball time, right?
Sure.
Where essentially they're watching content and some ads are coming their way. That one of the 2 ways. Now, in my opinion, you should charge them money so that you can avoid the advertising. Right? I'm a subscription guy. I believe that people should pay for the quality content that they want to consume. That way, there is no distraction. They know what they're getting and they know what they're getting into. So I think that we actually need to develop a good subscription content ecosystem, which hinges on two things, right? So what Kshitij mentioned as well, which is good, high quality streaming and nice, lightweight devices, which is not a shoebox on the head. Once you've got those two, then building a content bank and setting up a nice subscription ecosystem is not that hard once you crack that piece. So, in my opinion, that is where I think it will go. I would rather have people pay money rather than pay through their time.
Sure.
But in the meantime, to monetize, as Arnav is saying, you need to provide content, right? You need, because we are not there yet, right? We still have a shoebox in our head. But regarding monetizing nowadays, it's all, and I talk regarding myself, I start on the consumer directly with an app. And as I told you, it was featured by Apple, featured by Google. It was elected the best AR mobile game in the world. And it was very profitable, but compared to the other games out there, like it's 1%, right? So the consumer market, it's not there yet. So to all AR developers, it should be a relationship with brands. On our side, everything that we do with AR and 5G, it's all attached with telcos and manufacturers. So they are the ones that are providing, paying for the experience, right? Really to be at the edge of innovation and to start educating the consumer in how to interact in the future, right? We can think when it was the transition from TV to internet, right? With all of the companies are jumping into websites. Now they need to create a website with a video, with interactions. The same thing is happening with AR, and the brands cannot miss this step, right? So the best way to monetize is really to create simple and very engaging experience that find a solution for a brand problem, right? And to be the brands to paying or to investing on this content.
Sure, thanks, Nuno. I think starting with Dave first and ending with Neeraj. Dave, what is your perspective on how developers, content creators can basically monetize on the experiences that they're creating?
Well, I'll step into the marketing part for a second, because I know this is Neeraj's spot, but I'll just add a very kind of maybe unique part to that, is that I'm a Canadian. Okay, I live in Japan. Okay, and I work in Noida. Okay, so I'm a global citizen. This is the way that the world works right now. Okay, I'm not particularly unique in that way, but I am very much a visible minority in this country. Okay, you know, I'm a native English speaker. Okay, and I obviously don't look Japanese. Okay, so, but the problem for me is that there's nobody marketing to me. All right, so they're losing out on my spending power. They, you know, and I'm not being taken care of. And that's one thing that the technology like this, that if you have an AR app, that you would be able to market in Japanese, but you'd easily be able to do that in English as well. And that's going to capture somebody like me, and there's more of me these days. And I think that's good. I think that this type of technology can help. And I think Neeraj can finish this off. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. I think I would have a very, very clear perspective. And since I'm reading this ecosystem day in, day out, talking to a lot of partners and all the partners who actually come to us with the sole goal of monetization. So the first area where they can actually make money is thinking creative for our brands, right? And using the existing AR Core, AR Kit to build solutions for our brands. So first feedback is to start thinking categories, whether it's jewelry or makeup or beauty, and start creating a lot of POCs and solutions out there, right? And now what we are seeing is not just urban India, but VR would have a very strong role to play when it comes to the tier 2 and the rural market. As we see India on the urban lens, we are sitting on content. We are almost like a content surplus when it comes to urban, right? Rural is living in dearth of content. So look at this use case wherein Oculus was being used in rural targeting elderly people and making them do that Char Dham Yatra. So they can, sitting in the rural pockets, they can put on Oculus and they can actually go around all temples in India, right? Which is something which is like a dream come true. This is a very unique use case which any brand can ride on, partner with an OEM ecosystem, someone who's sitting on these hardware devices, lease it out, or maybe when Jio launches JioGlass, and me and Arnav, we are talking about a lot of these instances where we can lease out the hardware, because most of the brands would be reluctant to invest and purchase the hardware. So lease out the hardware, blend it with activations which you are running in rural pockets or urban pockets, and create some kind of an experiences for those audiences, right? So whether it's thinking creatively when it comes to AR and building solutions out there, or blending your technologies like VR with your existing activations and creating solutions out there, or the most important one, which I am pretty bullish about, and what Nuno also mentioned, was about integrating ads onto existing audiences who are playing games out there, right? Whether it's an AR game, and the classic example right now which stands in front of us is what we did very interesting with the Jio gaming team, wherein we got the Mountain Dew gaming console completely integrated into Jio gaming, and this is now available to audiences who are on a 1500 rupee phone. So imagine with Jio glasses coming in, the similar experiences can be actually built in. The entire Mountain Dew gaming console can move into the MR space, and now people can actually have that 3D feeler to it, and you can do fancy integrations inside the game. So while somebody is playing the game, you would have bottles falling in, you can have brandings running out there. So in terms of monetization, I think gaming is a low-hanging, a sector which I am personally bullish on. And as and when, as we see, this entire market is so dynamic, so a lot of things will pick up, a lot of things will fail, and ad opportunity is always going to be around, right? So these 4 or 5 areas is what we are bucketing now AR and VR solutions into. Another area what we're working on is I've just created my personal metaverse at home. So I relay a lot of my presentations using those metaverse, right? Initially, when I did it, it was more like a gimmick to get my clients excited. And now I'm sitting on use cases. So suddenly clients would tell me we want a similar metaverse because of COVID, giving it absolute wings. So clients are actually coming back to me and saying that, where are you presenting from? This is almost like a different universe. Why can't we create a similar metaverse in our office and do some kind of a activation with our retailers and get them excited, right? Or a CXO making an address to a larger audiences out there, or virtual events. So if Pepsi has Badshah, they can get Badshah to wear those Geo glasses and run kind of an MR blended metaverse event. So thoughts are wild, and there's a lot of thoughts around this entire space. And monetization obviously is the key, but the core goal is to look at brand's problem statement and keep coming up with solutions.
Thanks, Neeraj. Thank you.
With that, I would just log in with my metaverse as well. So I'm going to shut in from here and get into my metaverse.
Sure. And I think just a follow-on question there. Obviously, there's a big talent pool of developers. We guys are more than willing. You are more than willing. But how do brands perceive this? And what are we actually doing to kind of spread that awareness within these brands who will actually start kind of investing in this kind of a technology? And further, that will give a big push to the developer ecosystem, I think.
That's me, and that's my metaverse.
Great. So Neeraj, did you?
This is actually getting a lot of our clients excited now, and I keep playing with this entire mesh ecosystem. Currently, it's like Mohenjo-daro rocks with a Taj Mahal blend, and this keeps changing. And most of our client presentations, we actually do it from the studio here as part of the Voice and Vision initiative, which we get the gunning for. So that's a fate. It's all evolving. You know, it's definitely beyond AR. Like everyone here maintains that AR is like pretty much bread and butter, but VR and MR are going to make inroads into Indian market soon with 5G coming in. So it'll be big.
Okay.
Nice.
Great, Neeraj. Thank you for
That's
that.
a perfect end.
And I think, yes, in the interest of time, I think we should end this here. So any closing comments by the panel members?
One note that Shantai to talk about regarding monetization, and we are forgetting in here, the future for sure is going to be subscription, right?
Yes.
And we are not in this. I don't know, subscription for brands, which will be weird, right? But for content, entertainment content, it's going to be the future. People are not paying for one movie. They lost the habit. So in the future, either if it's VR or AR, it's going to be experience provided by subscription for sure, but not at this moment. At this moment, the monetization on AR, it's all about brands, marketing campaigns, and the conversion with their consumers.
Sure. I think any closing comments from Dave?
I'd just like to say thanks to Neeraj for wearing a super dry Japan shirt today. I think that was for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Chaitanya, any closing comments? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. So I think we've kind of covered it pretty well. So it's honestly it's really about experiences. Now, whether it's sitting in one place experience or it's moving around shooting stormtroopers in Star Wars Void location-based experience game. It's all about experiences, content-based experiences. So, and that's really what we want content creators to focus on.
Thanks. Thanks, Chaitanya. I think thank you all speakers. We'll just quickly scan the chat if there are any questions from the attendees and guests. I'm just scrolling up. I think there's a question for Dave. While working with immersive learning experiences, what are the matrices to evaluate learning? Who do you need next educational XR to the next? What do we need to take education to the next level is the second part of the question. But the first one is what are the key matrices that you have to evaluate while evaluating immersive learning experiences?
Sorry, who was that for? I only got half of that question.
So Dave, this question is for you.
Okay.
Yes. So the question is, while working with immersive learning experiences, what are the key matrices to evaluate learning outcomes, I guess?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking for is the matching to the learning objectives that you want to do. Okay. And if it's curriculum alignment, that's great. All right. And then making sure that there is some understanding of what's happening in that world and that you're driving towards something. It's not just about putting a headset on somebody and putting them at the Taj Mahal and saying, hey, isn't that great? Okay. You want to make sure that you're driving the learning towards something and that you have actionable results from that can help inform you as a teacher on what, where the gaps are in learning. And then it's actionable. I can spend 2 minutes with somebody and say, listen, you're missing this part, that part. And they go, I got it. And that's good. Okay. So it's about making the teacher time more efficient. That's all.
Sure. Thanks for that. I think one last question for all the panelists here is, in the marriage of OTT and AR, VR, what sort of content and ad formats do you see gaining the most? So it's more a technical question about the formats and ad formats and the content.
It's technical, so Chaitanya should take this.
Yes, I think Chaitanya can take the OTT ad streaming formats, and Neeraj, you can take the ad formats here.
That's a question from my team only.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's actually VR is actually the next content consumption platform after OTT, right? So even though there will be the kind of content which you see on VR will be similar to OTT, which will be more an equal amount of serialized and non-serialized content, but the immersion factor will be significantly higher. So your advertising should be more content integrated rather than actual separate. So you would rather have branded content inside regular fiction content that you're seeing. That's the way that I would go. I wouldn't want to run pre-roll and post-roll ads in VR experiences, in fiction VR experiences. Not at all. I don't think that's the way to go. I think it should be more subtle. It should be more integrated into the content.
Sure. So I think more product placements and contextual 3D ads is the future. And we, GeoTesseract, are also kind of building such engines which will with brands, but also developers to kind of integrate these SDKs within their applications and have separate revenue stream coming in.
Yeah, and in that also, actually, what Neeraj said and what Nuno's fears are, I kind of agree with that. You can't have somebody doing iris tracking, and then suddenly when the pupil dilates, shove an ad in the middle of it's weird, right? You can't do that. So, I mean, yeah, you gotta have to figure that bit out. But other than that, broadly, that's how I would look at it. It should be integrated into the content.
Sure.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a smart integration, like the way I mentioned, while you're playing the game or you're watching any content. It's not going to be like a bugging experience where the ad is going to come in between, but it's going to be smartly integrated with the existing content which you're watching. Even in the existing gaming integrations, what we're doing is while you're playing the game, Angry Birds Rovio, we give you power birds from a brand. If you are running out of birds, we give you power birds and stuff like that. It's not that we disturb the gaming experience in any form. So ad format would be more consumer friendly than to make money, is what I would say. Because initially, if you go too much with pre-roll, you will kill the medium.
Sure. I think thanks Neeraj, Chaitanya, Nuno, and Dave for all sharing all the insights and experiences. I think it was a lot of learning and very thoughtful for myself. So thank you for your time. And moving ahead for the last.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your time, and we'll keep in touch for other questions and follow-ups.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much, guys. See you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pradeep, for your energy and evangelizing this space.
Yes. Well, it was a very interesting discussion. I actually was listening to it and enjoyed it. Great stuff. So look, folks, first of all, I would like to thank all the speakers for the great time that you have given us, as well as all the attendees, and shared your thoughts. Number two is that I would like to express my sincere thanks to Geo Tesseract, to Kshitij, Arnav,